Good afternoon. How are you today? Well, it's soggy out, but it's comfortable. We spend a lot of time talking about people not being above the law, and I think I'll give that a rest today, even though the characters are venal and they threaten our entire democracy. And it's hard to choose what is the most important thing, but I do praise Biden's very direct and strong attack on the court. Because what the court is doing is not about the law. It does appear to be about hack politics, delivering on a promise to the Federalist Society in order to get to the court, and saying they believe it until they do believe it, whether or not they started believing it. And what we have is buried at the center of this force against women is a misogyny that is dangerous to the very establishment of our notion of equal before the law. And I find it to be a very hateful thing, and it's hard to understand how any man who does not have to worry about being constrained by these supremacists and fascists wouldn't be as concerned, though it's not about his body, that it would be about his sister, a mother, a daughter, a friend. And apparently 30% or so of America it's interesting, a crow, right? 30% or so of America is very comfortable with this predatory consciousness directed at women. And we all know that from the moment we had a Declaration of Independence, women were not involved. They weren't involved when slaves were given the right to vote, and they weren't given the right to vote until 1920. So Biden yesterday basically called out the court for making a decision that had nothing to do with the law. And people are saying he should pass executive orders and do all manner of things. But executive orders have their limitations. And basically, I think what he's doing is he's setting a standard of discussion for the midterms and for 2024. I think he's setting the table, if you will, for men and women to take this issue and run with it all the way to the ballot box. When I was in high school, there was a book that came out. It was called The Cardinal, and it was beautifully written. And I remember reading it on the bus, and I'm talking about public buses. In New York, as you probably know, we have bus passes, and you show the bus pass, and you get on the bus, and you take it to the school. And so I would take a bus to the high school. And this story, The Cardinal, is about the path of a young priest. And I just found it riveting, and I think one of the reasons I probably glommed onto it was because some people thought I should be a priest. And I had no interest in that. They sent me on retreats and things like that, and I just became less interested all the time. But I read this book, and in part, it helped me think about all the reasons why I'm not a priest and all the reasons why the Catholic Church was flawed. But it was years later when I finally upended my association with the Roman Catholic Church for its offensive nature. But there was one part of this book, even then, when I was too young to really have to deal with it, that I found quite distressing. And it is that this young man, who's a priest on his way to being a cardinal, who has a sister, and she gets pregnant, and I think her name was Mona. It's a long time. I tried to find the book earlier today, so that's why it's on my mind. And Mona was pregnant, and she was going to die if she did not have an abortion. And she sought her brother's support, the man on the way to becoming cardinal, and he refused it. He refused to save his own sister, and as a result, Regina was born. Now, in recent days, because of Holly's double lung transplant, I've seen a similar situation that can happen to transplant survivors, patients in recovery. If a person with a double lung transplant becomes pregnant, then that may challenge the child within with the medicines that are inimical to human survival. And so, if you're pregnant, you might have a child that was compromised and might die within your womb. But secondly, the woman who has the double lung transplant, if she carries the child, may die herself. Under the current law in several states, that double lung transplant woman who finds herself pregnant finds herself in that category of women, in my opinion, of the exceptions, which are about rape and incest, but also about the health of the woman. America makes great pretense about giving a damn about each of us individually when they don't care at all. They don't care at all as manifest by how they conduct themselves. And the conduct is at its root a Christian fiction that a fecundated ovum is a person. And because of this fiction imposed on America by the theocrats and the autocrats, women are put at risk in the category of what do we do about childbirth. But it is more than about that. It is about controlling what was for many years the essential and exclusive definition of a woman's role. When a woman is now equal and superior to men in so many ways. And so this fear that Republicans have, this doctrine that they have of being in charge, is at risk when a woman enjoys independence over herself and has the possibility of being as active in any way she chooses in a society. And we've been growing toward that to smash the glass ceiling and make women as equal as men, as anybody, no matter race, color, creed. So that at the core of this dispute is the definition of America. The Republicans are smart to choose key issues that define their superiority, no matter whom they hurt in the bargain. So when we fight, I don't know if we should expect much from Congress this election year. There are only so many days. And maybe there are things the president can do. But because of the late date, and I want to remind people, as some others have, Hillary Clinton said this would happen, and nobody worked against it. And here we are. So we have this short time between now and the election to get this right. No Republican in America should receive a single vote from an enlightened individual who acknowledges what Republicans are doing to women and to the nation. So, those are my thoughts. I hope you're okay. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. And I am here in my cathedral of trees, where wisdom abides in the air around me.